What's up, guys? Justin Garcia, Master Chim here, and today I wanted to go over something that caused a little bit of a stir on Facebook these last couple of days. I don't know when you're watching this video, but it is October 7th, 8th, around there. So around that time, if you check my Facebook, MasterChimFans.com, there was a post asking a very, I thought, simple yet difficult to sort of wrestle with question. And the question that I posted to people on Facebook was, would you rather your child give or receive bullying? And the sort of premise was, if you had to choose, right? I think that was the verbatim. If you had to choose, would you rather your child give or receive bullying? Now, let's talk about the definition of bullying. I'm going to go over a bunch of things sort of informationally, right? I'm going to give you a bunch of info, and then I'm going to try and give you my interpretation of what some conclusions would be, including my opinion on how to best deal with bullying. All right? Bullying, as defined by Webster's Dictionary, is to frighten, hurt, or threaten, and in parentheses, usually a smaller or weaker person. Okay? So to frighten, hurt, or threaten a smaller or weaker person. Now, a couple of things need to go down in order for something to be classified as bullying, and I think it's very important that that we define that. Now, before we even get into that, the question itself, let me just throw out there are a lot of people. Obviously, this is not a comfortable question. If I say if you have to choose, being bullied or being the bully for your child, it's not an easy question. That's why I'm asking it. That creates a discussion. So a lot of people, put neither, and I'm sure they felt, noble or, mature or benevolent or, whatever they felt. But it was absolute nonsense. If the question's there, choose one, okay? Putting neither is weak. Basically what you're doing is you're acknowledging that, this is too uncomfortable a topic to have an opinion on, okay? And if that's the case, just don't write anything, all right? And the reason I'm so adamant about this point is, sometimes as parents, as mentors, as leaders, coaches, what have you, we need to have tough conversations, because that's how we sort of determine how to best navigate out of tough situations, okay? But if you just refuse to play the game, you're basically just saying, you know what, I'm going to go over here while the adults have a conversation. So when you're putting neither, NG, no good, all right? But let's sort of hone in on what bullying is. To frighten, hurt, or threaten a smaller or weaker person. Okay, I have, and I'm going to use my pointer here. Please don't judge me. I just don't want to be going all over the place. I have drawn here in my very horrible artistic ability, but enough to drive the point home. We have person A and person B. All right, we'll call them men, right? Because I just didn't feel like drawing in hair or something. Although that would be a scary woman. That's not a scary man. But person A, person B. Now, if I had to tell you, if I told you one of these people is a bully, and I don't have time to do the study, but I think if you're being honest, we could acknowledge that in most cases, this would be the bully. This would not be the bully. This would probably be the person being bullied. Now, if we go back to the definition, to frighten, hurt, or threaten a smaller or weaker person, there's something in the dynamic between the two of them that makes it bullying. I've been in a lot of fights in my life, right? If somebody came up to me who was much, much smaller than me and started calling me names, started hitting me, or attempted to hit me and attack me, it would be assault. It would be the instigation of a fight. It would be a lot of things, but I don't think many people would call it bullying. So the act of offending somebody, of insulting somebody, even trying to physically harm somebody, doesn't necessarily mean bullying. What makes it bullying is usually there's two things going on. There's this dynamic, right? There's strong, weak, big, small. There's a lot of control, hardly any control. There's dynamic of some discrepancy, some disparity, between the two individuals, between the bully and the bullied, right? Aside from that, damage, all right? If you just look over here for a second, damage. If there's no damage being done, you could hardly call it bullying. If you had a small child and a big child, and that big child spoke, let's say, Japanese, and that small child spoke, let's say, Spanish, they're not compatible languages. So if that big child came over and said a bunch of nasty, hurtful, threatening things to the child, but it wasn't understood, maybe the size dynamic is there, maybe the power dynamic is there, but the communication isn't there. So there's no damage. So pretty much if there's no harm, there's no foul. Now that doesn't mean that this person wouldn't go on and bully other kids, and I understand that, because one of the things about talking about topics like this is you have all these people that are just trying to, beat down the point of what I'm trying to do, and I don't have time to cover every possibility and permutation of the scenarios I design. But staying within what I'm saying, Japanese big kid, Spanish smaller kid, it's almost impossible for one to bully the other, through language at least, right? Because the damage isn't there. So bullying doesn't occur. So there needs to be damage. Another element of bullying that's worth noting is the intention. Sometimes somebody in a powerful position can bully somebody in a weaker position unintentionally. Maybe just the scenarios off the top of my head, you have the popular kid in school who says something to embarrass the new kid in school. Didn't mean it, but maybe the popular kid is just more well adjusted to the surroundings, and the new kid is dealing with issues, and this is a complete hypothetical, but the new kid is dealing with issues, and maybe this person just offends him or embarrasses him unintentionally. It could still be considered bullying, right? Because there's hurt going on, right? You're hurting the person, maybe you're frightening the person. So intention, one of the things about being a bully is that sometimes it's intentional, other times it could be unintentional. I think that's a valid, valid fact that I could unintentionally bullying somebody if I'm not conscious of what their feelings are, right? Physically, it's pretty cut and dry. If I hit somebody, it's getting in the direction of bullying. But as far as my words, my actions, the pressure socially that I'm putting on somebody, it could definitely be an unintentional thing. And another point I wanted to bring up is reversal. Now, a lot of people, and one of the reasons I put these questions up on Facebook is I want to get feedback. I want to see what people are saying. I want to see if points are raised that I didn't consider, if people are bringing up sort of stories, personal stories, adding to either, the strengthening of my position or maybe the undermining and unraveling of my position. But I want to get as much feedback. And a lot of people answered, well, I would want my child to receive the bullying because they have martial arts training and they would be able to, stand up or defeat the bully. Well, you got to understand two things. Number one, you're not really answering the question, because if I'm saying being bullied, it means being, frightened, being hurt, being threatened, having damage inflicted. If your child is trained in the martial arts and is pretty much immune to that, element, that dynamic, you wouldn't really call them the person being bullied. Maybe the other person is a bully, but they're not bullying your child. So it's a little bit of a cop-out if you say, oh, because my son or daughter, has training to stop bullies, because then they're not really being bullied, are they? But another thing that people added is that, well, if my son and daughter, and there were a lot of personal anecdotes that were written down, when I was young, this happened, and one of the things was, well, I got bullied, I became strong, and then I dealt with the bully. Or, well, I want my son to receive the bullying because, he's going to learn that if somebody goes to bully you, you should punch him in the nose. And story after story, both private, through email, on my Facebook accounts, my Facebook pages. And what I would say is it's eerily similar to, your child was this person, and you're saying through some form of motivation, training, standards, self-esteem increase, they sort of become this person, right? And they sort of swap roles. They bully the bully. And that's valid. So what's my take on all of this, right? I tried to draw enough of a picture where, you know, all the elements that I'm going to comment on are included in my explanation. What would I do? You know, if I had to choose, would I rather my child give or receive bullying? 100% unequivocally being a bully, okay? And I just have to say it. I don't know, because I'm so used to having conversations with little whiny people that can't have tough conversations. I had to choose. Obviously, being a bully is not my choice in the grand scheme of choices of what I would want my child to be. But under no circumstances would I choose for my child to be frightened, to be hurt, to be threatened by a bigger or stronger person and receive damage when I have the option to choose another role for them. Now, my personal opinion, the way that a lot of schools, a lot of martial artists, a lot of so-called bully experts are going about, you know, solving the you know, I guess new problem of bullying and kids bullying, is that they are empowering a perspective that is doomed to fail. And that is of the weak-minded victim. Okay? Now, I'm going to get a lot of flack for this. It's sort of par for the course with me. I'm used to it. But I cannot be more sincere when I say that telling a child that they don't have to sort of stick up for themselves, they don't have to sort of emanate a confidence, and they don't have to endure, you know, some sort of rites of passage, I think is dishonest, and I think it's in line with sabotage, you know, for your child's self-confidence, for your child's ability to overcome obstacles, for your child's ability to function and flourish in reality. Okay, we're slowly becoming a bubble society, right? Your son or daughter is bullied by the bigger boy or girl in school, and they come home crying, and the first reaction of parents is, you know, is to contact the school and to let them know that, you know, somebody's picking on your child, and to tell your child, don't worry, we're going to get to the bottom of this, and we're gonna find that bully, and we're gonna tell them that they can't do that, that it's unfair, you know, that it's not right, that it's mean, that it's evil. And what I think is that that's, you know, excuse my language, but it's bullshit. You know, people are going to face these struggles, whether they like it or not, eventually in their lives. And I think as parents, if we adopt, and I have 3 young children of my own, you know, mind you, I'm not just speaking theory here. This is what I practice with my own children. If we don't let them fight those battles when they're younger, how are they ever going to be equipped to deal with these battles when they're older, right? When it's their when it's a street situation, you know, or it's a job situation, or it's a relationship situation where they're not able to deal with these uncomfortable social pressures from others that they'll never be able to get anywhere because of, you know, empowering a perspective, a personality, an individual from a perspective of strength is always going to be more valuable in terms of its application to the real world. If you're the one that is trying to make the world safer and not you stronger, you're going to lose, okay? Statistically, you'll lose. I could bring up stat after stat because I've spent the better part of 2 days researching, and maybe, you know, if you want to see some of these studies and things that I pulled from, I'll gladly find them and post them. But for the most part, being weak is never a formula for success. Being strong is always going to be a formula for success. I can go a different angle with it and say, you know what, you're the parent, right? You're the one that's in charge of protecting your son or daughter. And in this question, you know, would you rather your child give or receive bullying? Well, if you look at this aspect, the damage aspect, another way we could ask that question is, well, damage is going to be done. Would you rather your son or daughter receive the damage or give the damage? You know, and a lot of you know, receive the damage because then they'll have an empathy for other people. It's not the way it works, right? Having something done to you, and having that as your sole means of acquiring and establishing, empathy for other human beings, it's nonsensical. Okay, that's not the formula that we've used as a society. It's not the formula that I use, certainly. It's not the formula that I've seen work. I've had a school for over 10 years. I've taught hundreds of kids, martial arts. Now, I understand, when I get the kid that has no self-confidence, that's the thing we have to fix. And when I hear about one of my students being bullied at school, my first reaction is never, well, we got to find this kid and we got to talk to his parents. We got to let him know that he's being mean and unfair. No, it's let's deal with this now. We talk about chickenpox, right? Chickenpox. I think when what happens? What's it called when you get chickenpox as an adult?
Shingles.
Shingles, right? So that's my cameraman. I don't have ventriloquism powers or something. Shingles. We always say it's better that the child get them as the child get chickenpox as a child and not later on in life, because their ability to cope with it is going to be minimized, right? It's going to be potentially more damaging to them. Well, this is a parallel situation. I could use it as an analogy for what I'm trying to promote when it comes to dealing with bullying amongst children. Let them deal with it when they're kids. Give them the tools to stand up for themselves. Give them the tools to be strong. Don't ever choose for them to be weak. Just because you're coming from a position of strength, it doesn't mean that your child's going to grow up to be some evil, criminal or murderer or something that you wouldn't want your child to become. It's a very, very broad brush that people are using, and people are starting to become more and more scared of strength. And as a society, we can get into a political discussion here, but I won't. But as a society, we used to be a lot stronger than we are now. And I think a lot of it has to do with what we're putting up on that pedestal, what we're putting up as the ideal, when it comes to what we're accountable for, what we're capable of, what type of pressure and standards we should establish for ourselves individually. We can't make the world safe for everybody. There's no bubble that's going to cover all of our kids. All right. So there's my take on the bullying. To summarize quickly, I would never have my child receive damage over being the one to give damage, if given those two options. I think to say that my child should receive bullying, I think is a weak answer. I want my children to be strong. Given those two answers, those only two answers, I'm always going to choose, well, which one is stronger? Dealing with strength and teaching my children how to deal with personal strength is infinitely going to be easier and more practical than trying to heal damage that they've received. Okay. Now I know some of you, oh, well, I didn't know you meant bullying was that. I thought it was just, somebody trying to hit and somebody. And I understand, I didn't give them a whole, bunch of sort of boundaries, right, and borders for the question. I just gave it to them very, very simply. So it's okay if you want to go back and say, oh, I didn't know you meant that. Actually, in that case, I would choose this. That's fine. It's not my goal to get it right while you get it wrong, or who knows, maybe I'm wrong, right? But that's my position. Okay, that's what we teach here at the Jungle Gym. That's what I teach my children, and I think that that most parents would be better off adopting that type of mentality with the children of their own. All right. Thanks for watching, guys. I know it's been a long video, but when I get riled up over a topic, that's what happens. All right. MMAisforyou.com, MasterChimFans.com. Hope to see you guys soon.